Boardroom wars, drama with DeSantis, sweeping layoffs, and big changes for their theme parks. The Walt Disney Company has had a tumultuous few months, so how is CEO Bob Iger handling all of it? We're taking a look at what's changed during Iger's first 100 days since returning as Disney's CEO here on DFB Guide. Hey everybody, it's AJ for Disney Food Blog. Now, Disney's been trending in the news lately, and not all of it is positive. Union disputes and company-wide layoffs have dominated the news cycle in the past few weeks, along with the impending overhaul of Disney's special Reedy Creek Improvement District and a drop in Disney Plus subscribers. From a cursory glance, things do not look good for Disney, but Disney's theme parks continue to bring in big bucks, and the company has some major plans to recover from their recent, quote, mistakes, unquote, and come back stronger than ever. Is Bob Iger setting things on the right path? Let's take a look. So what's going on at Disney right now? In November 2022, Disney had a major shakeup with former CEO Bob Chapek being ousted and replaced by his predecessor Bob Iger, who had served as Disney's CEO from 2005 to 2020. During Bob Chapek's 2 years as CEO, he restructured the company, and while he was left a pretty raw deal of navigating Disney through the pandemic, Disney board members and executives weren't liking the direction the company was headed. Tensions had been rising with Bob Chapek in office for months before the final call was made to replace him, and the company had been suffering on the PR end of things, but also in financial matters, with extreme losses in the streaming division, which were extremely evident in the 2022 Q4 earnings call on November 8th. Company losses were 38% higher than what had been predicted by Wall Street, rounding out at about $1.5 billion, and that caused a crash in Disney stock prices. Desperate for something to change, one Disney executive took matters into her own hands. Disney CFO Christine McCarthy called Bob Iger personally to ask if the former CEO would be interested in returning to his post. That phone call took place on November 16th, and on November 18th, Chairwoman Susan Arnold made the call to offer Iger the job. Iger accepted, and on November 20th, Arnold called Chapek to let him know his services were no longer needed. Disney's latest earnings call on February 8th, 2023 revealed that their streaming division is still taking a hit, and Bob Iger is making it his #1 priority to fix things to make Disney Plus profitable by 2024. Despite Disney Parks increasing revenue by 21% this quarter, the company is still in a tight spot and plans to reduce their workforce by approximately 7,000 jobs and restructure into 3 core business segments. Despite that grim news, there are some exciting things on the horizon, like a new Avatar experience coming to Disneyland and sequels for 3 beloved Disney franchises. But will that be enough to dig Disney out of the hole they've created over the past few years? So what led Bob Iger to make what he has called one of his worst business decisions, the selection of Bob Chapek as his successor? And how is he going to turn things around? Reportedly, Iger said he didn't realize Chapek was such a novice when it came to handling complex issues like talent management and political battles, and that Chapek was arrogant and uninterested in other people's opinions. Harsh words, but it's no secret that Disney fans, along with those board members and Bob Iger himself, were unhappy with how things were handled the past few years. At the February 8th earnings call, Bob Iger addressed something that's been on every Disney park goer's mind: those price increases. Iger said, "It's clear that some of our pricing initiatives were alienating to consumers." He also shared, quote, "I've always believed that accessibility is a core value of the Disney brand." But he said that Disney was, quote, "not perceived to be as accessible or as affordable to many segments, and we probably should have been. So after basically paying heed to what we are hearing, we started to address it," unquote. While price rollbacks or value adds to a Disney vacation may be a little slow going, we have seen some changes already. More on that in a bit. There's one major mistake that Iger has already made moves to fix, though. Iger announced the immediate restructuring of the company, and more specifically, the Disney Media and Entertainment Distribution, DMED, division, and told investors that the restructuring of the company is aimed at returning greater authority to our creative leaders. Now, DMED was Chapek's downfall. This was a new division of the company created in 2020, focused solely on marketing and distribution of Disney content, with the creatives responsible for making that content left completely out of the equation. Bob Iger has essentially undone everything surrounding DMED with the company restructuring. He's basically putting it back to what it was before. So moving forward, let's talk about that restructuring. Disney's going to be organized under 3 divisions: Disney Entertainment, ESPN, Disney Parks Experiences and Products, DPEP, and Iger stressed that the organization will provide a more cost-effective, coordinated, and streamlined approach to the company's operations. The new structure will reestablish a direct link between content decisions and financial performance. The dedication to ESPN may seem a little odd, especially as investors and analysts have recently suggested that Disney should spin off ESPN, but Bob Iger has stated multiple multiple times there are no plans to diverge ESPN from the Disney Company, and strong earnings from the past 2 financial quarters indicate that ESPN Plus may be the ticket to Disney getting an edge on the streaming wars. So is Disney losing the streaming wars? Well, subscribers are down globally for Disney Plus, but domestic numbers are still growing for Disney Plus, ESPN, and Hulu. ESPN Plus had its highest subscriber growth in 2022, and while Iger has noted that they will likely be more conservative in spending on sports rights, it appears that Disney is still all in on sports streaming. But what about Hulu? Iger does love a good acquisition, so could that streaming platform fall under the Disney sphere in the near future? Disney already owns 67% of Hulu, and Comcast's NBC Universal owns the remaining amount. According to Yahoo, under the deal made back in 2019, Disney got full operational control of Hulu. And as early as January 2024, Comcast can require Disney to buy NBC Universal's interest in Hulu, and Disney can require NBC Universal to sell that interest to Disney for its fair market value at that future time. Now, Iger's number one priority is to fix streaming. He reiterated Disney's previous comments that they expect Disney Plus to be profitable by the end of fiscal year 2024. He said they are done with the arms race for subscribers and they want to refocus on loyal and consistent subscribers. So could this progress toward profitability mean full ownership of Hulu? While that outcome is still uncertain, Iger has a few other moves to turn the ship around. Disney will be focusing on its core brands and franchises, which have historically delivered higher returns. Sequels are currently in the works at Disney for Toy Story, Zootopia, and Frozen, and Disney will continue to focus on Pixar, Star Wars, and Marvel for the foreseeable future, as those have proven to be financially viable. They're working on curating content. He used the word curating over and over and over again, and adjusting as needed, adjusting pricing and marketing strategies, fine-tuning streaming advertising. And when asked about how exactly Iger plans on improving and growing Disney's streaming division, these were his ideas: seeking loyal subscribers for the long term, reviewing pricing and making sure services are priced correctly, and rebalancing marketing on the platform versus marketing of the programs. So basically, he doesn't want subscribers that are just subscribing for a season to watch a particular show and then unsubscribing, right? So the series premiere of The Mandalorian will be on ABC, Freeform, and FX, but you'll need to subscribe to Disney Plus to see the rest of the series. Some pretty good marketing to get those loyal long-term subscribers to join the platform. At least it's an attempt. Streaming has become a tumultuous endeavor over the past few years, with competitors waffling back and forth with who ends up on top with the most subscribers, the highest viewed programming, all while navigating the changing dynamics of people returning to theaters for movie premieres, cutting subscriptions in light of a pending recession, and of course, all of those ads that are now being placed on streaming services. We expect to see more announcements and changes in Disney's streaming division and potential acquisitions, as this is the biggest hurdle the company needs to overcome. They need to prove to investors and board members that this was a good idea and that they need to stay on top for the long haul. Now, Disney may not have won the streaming wars just yet, but Iger has managed to end one war before it even really began. Disney's been trending for another reason lately, and that's because of the Proxy battle with activist investor Nelson Peltz, who was petitioning for a seat on the board of directors. Peltz had voiced concerns over the state of the Disney company, specifically citing CEO succession, poor financial strategy, especially when it comes to streaming, and not enough accountability with capital allocation. Things came to a head when Peltz and the firm of which he is CEO reached out to Disney shareholders, encouraging them to basically fire an existing board member and vote for Peltz to get seated instead, against Disney's recommendation. But things ended pretty abruptly after the February 8th earnings call, when Peltz called into CNBC to say the proxy war was over and that Disney's management now plans to do everything Peltz and his partners wanted them to do. As the New York Times puts it, this shift, though sudden, can be seen as a victory for both sides. Disney avoids an unwanted board battle, and Peltz was able to say he succeeded in pushing Disney to cut costs, revamp its streaming business, refocus on profit growth, and reinstate its dividend. Iger managed to avoid one major hurdle here, and luckily for him, not all aspects of the Disney company are in a decline. Now, one thing hasn't changed. The parks continue to sustain the whole company. Disney's theme parks have and continue to be the main breadwinner of the Walt Disney Company. Year-over-year increases in earnings from their parks division has helped the company offset struggles in streaming and other sectors. Disney cites the income growth is due to higher volumes and increased guest spending, partially offset by cost inflation, higher operations support costs, and increased costs for new guest offerings. The report also cited that Genie Plus and Lightning Lanes contributed to the increase in guest spending. spending. So let's go back to Bob Iger's comments about affordability and accessibility, because Genie Plus and Lightning Lanes are definitely not contributing to that as far as most Disney fans are concerned. Iger has commiserated with the cost increases, but is he really doing much to make our Disney World trips cheaper? Disney's announced that throughout 2023, there will be nearly 2 months worth of dates where one-day, one-park tickets to Disneyland are just $104. I know, just $104, but considering tickets often range from $119 to $164 for Disneyland, and Disney World's cheapest tickets are less common than that 2 months worth of dates, it's not nothing. Over in Disney World, one previously free perk has returned as well. Overnight hotel parking is complimentary again. Gone are the days of spending $15 to $25 a night just to park your car at your Disney hotel. And good thing, because flight prices are still up, so more people may opt to drive to their Disney vacation. But is that really enough to assuage fans who feel they're emptying their bank accounts to go to the theme parks? Because you are spending more at theme parks than you were before. It doesn't just feel like you're shelling out more at Disney parks, you 100% are. Disney has been able to increase park profits while continuing to keep the number of park guests lower. Disney World and Disneyland have been purposefully reducing capacity in the parks through the use of the Park Pass reservation system, where you must reserve a park pass in addition to purchasing a ticket in order to get into the parks, with very few minor exceptions. Overall, Disney has seen park attendance at both Disney World and Disneyland already pacing above the prior year, and it is expected to continue, though that doesn't account for all of that increased revenue. Ticket, hotel, and food price increases, along with those new pay-to-play services, Disney Genie Plus and individual Lightning Lanes, have helped to boost income from Disney's parks division. As we head into this looming recession, is Disney likely to reduce prices, offer more robust discounts, or start catering to their bread and butter visitors, annual pass holders? Unlikely. Bob Iger, like his predecessor Bob Chapek, is making decisions to court those once-in-a-lifetime guests and continuing to shift the mix of park goers away from annual pass holders. That's a direct quote from Bob Iger in the earnings call. Iger said that standard ticket guests, not annual pass holders, tend to be good customers of ours because of their per cap spending when they're here. Shifting the mix from annual pass holders to other guests have helped Disney manage capacity without doing too much damage to the bottom line, quote unquote. While park attendance continues to climb, Disney will continue to focus on the newcomers and the once-in-a-year or once-in-a-lifetime guests who tend to stay longer and spend more money than annual pass holders. Iger did make several mentions of increasing park capacity, but through new additions to the parks, and cited how they reduce capacity during the holiday season to improve the guest experience while still maintaining profitability. I don't know how waiting 70 minutes to ride Grand Fiesta Tour improves the guest experience, but okay. So it seems that Disney isn't necessarily going to do away with that park pass reservation system anytime soon. It is too valuable to them, and the way Disney hopes to increase park capacity is by adding more to the parks, not letting more people in. With that came the announcement that Avatar is coming to Disneyland in the form of a new attraction, or possibly a West Coast flight of passage, but unlikely. Iger said, "We have opportunities to look at the great franchises of the company and see where we can invest in those in the parks and keep guest happiness up." This announcement, along with potential blue sky projects for Disney World that could add new lands to Animal Kingdom and Magic Kingdom, could mean more for park goers to do and see without overcrowding the parks. Still, all those projects are years in the future, could remain pure concepts that never see the light of day, and pass holders are unhappy now. It will be interesting to see how Disney approaches its mix of guests should things in the streaming division not pan out as planned, or if the recession impacts travel more than Disney is currently expecting. Now, Disney is setting itself up to weather the current storms and pull itself out of its losses by implementing plans to cut spending massively by $5.5 billion across the company. To start, Disney plans on cutting a whopping $3 billion in non-sports content. That could mean cutting content on Disney Plus, but it could also mean that the company could be considering selling its share of Hulu. According to Iger, everything is on the table right now concerning the streaming service. He also talked quite a bit about how expensive it is to create this content. Now, the other $2.5 billion will be cut by general operating costs. That breaks down to 50% marketing and 20% in technology, procurement, and other expenses. But 30% of those cut costs will happen in labor. The company also announced a workforce reduction of 7,000 Disney jobs. The company restructuring likely plays into these layoffs, though it has not been announced how the numbers will pan out across the different sectors of the company. In an email to cast members, Josh D'Amaro, chairperson of Walt Disney Parks Experiences Experiences and Products, said every segment of the company, including Parks, Experiences and Products, will be subject to the layoffs. However, he explained that Disney anticipates those working hourly frontline roles and operations won't be impacted. Iger said he does not make these decisions lightly and is mindful of the personal impact of these changes. Disney is still in ongoing negotiations with unionized employees over contract proposals as well. 32,000 Disney employees across 6 unions, representing 40% of the workforce, have been negotiating for months to secure wage increases. Unions have represented workers at Disney World since the 1970s, but workers have never striked, nor are there current plans to set a strike deadline. It is certainly something on the company's radar, though Bob Iger did not address it at all in the earnings call or in surrounding interviews. Now, the earnings call didn't touch on the future of park pass reservations, at least not in any substantial way other than that it's helped to maintain that mix of guests, which has helped the company's bottom line. We can speculate that Disney will continue to use that tactic, and it's clearly working. Annual pass holders in Disney World have been tossed a little something in the form of not needing to make park pass reservations if they're planning on entering the parks after 2 p.m., unless they're trying to go to Magic Kingdom on Saturday or Sunday. Well, that hasn't happened yet, but they promised that it would. Disney hasn't identified exactly when this change will begin, but Josh D'Amaro has indicated it will happen in the next few months. Some annual pass holders have filed a lawsuit against Disney in regard to the park pass reservation system and breach of contract due to unfair blockout dates and availability favoring guests with single or multi-day tickets over annual pass holders. The trial start date is set for the term that starts on August 5th, 2024, so it will be some time before we see this whole scenario play out, but so far Bob Iger has remained quiet on the topic. He's also remained relatively tight-lipped about the dissolution of the Reedy Creek Improvement District. The district's current structure has given Disney a great amount of control over the land on which it operates for over 50 years, but things are about to change as a bill to redistribute power rather than completely dissolve and rename the district has passed in the Florida Senate. Walt Disney World President Jeff Volley issued a statement following the bill's passage. For more than 50 years, the Reedy Creek Improvement District has operated at the highest standards, he says, and we appreciate all that the district has done to help our destination grow and become one of the largest economic contributors and employers in the state. We are focused on the future and are ready to work within this new framework, and we will continue to innovate, inspire, and bring joy to the millions of guests who come to Florida to visit Walt Disney World each year, quote unquote. Disney's not revealed whether they intend to challenge the bill, and outside of Volley's statement, not much has been said in response by Disney. Here are some of the changes that the bill would enact. It would rename the district to the Central Florida Tourism Oversight District, change the Board of Supervisors selection process. Instead of being selected by the landowners, Disney is the majority landowner in the district, the board members will be selected by the governor and confirmed by the Senate. It will strip the district of some powers, like the power it had to potentially create a nuclear power plant, and it will place certain requirements on the district, mainly reporting requirements. The district will still be allowed to continue doing business as the RCID for 2 years after the bill goes into effect, so that they have time to make necessary changes to legal and financial documents, physical assets, and other locations where the district's name is used. What does Iger's future with Disney look like? Well, Iger shared that his quote-unquote plan is to stay at Disney for 2 years. He said, "That's what my contract says. That would be my preference as well." But he also noted that he's not looking at the 2 years as a timeline to do it all. He said it's not about accomplishing everything, but rather about setting up the company for long-term success. If done right, some of these changes will set the company on the right course for many years to come, including many years after Iger is gone. So what might that distant future look like, and what other challenges could Disney face? Streaming is the #1 priority right now, but what's the next step? Will Disney turn back to its consistent moneymaker, the theme parks? They've got some work to do if they want to keep up with Universal. With the opening of Super Nintendo World in California, Epic Universe on the horizon for Florida, and the newly announced park coming to Frisco, Texas, an immersive horror experience in Las Vegas, and beating out Disney on the bid to have that high-speed rail Brightline train drop guests right at Universal's doorstep, Disney's got some serious competition. They've directly competed with Universal before. They fast-tracked their movie-themed park, MGM Studios, now Hollywood Studios, and beat the opening of Universal Studios Florida by a year to stay on top of the competition. So will they do it again? Are the blue sky projects talked about at the D23 convention actually on the table? Could we see Moana and Zootopia added to Disney's Animal Kingdom, or a Coco Land behind Big Thunder Mountain in Magic Kingdom? Bob Iger's comments about adding to the parks to increase capacity certainly indicates that it's a strong possibility. But could we see Disney fast-track those projects to stay relevant with all of Universal's new additions? Or will we be waiting years to see new rides come to the parks? Bob Iger certainly has his work cut out for him if he does intend to turn Disney's streaming division around by 2024, solve many of the legal entanglements the company has found itself in, and continue to dominate the theme park industry. Investors and board members appear bullish, and Disney's stock prices have continued to pick up after that crash in November, but there are a lot of hurdles and uncertainties to overcome, especially in the next couple of years. We'll be here to keep you up to speed every step of the way and help you out with some lighter topics like planning your Disney snack list. Be sure to sign up for our free newsletter to stay up to date on all the latest news from the Disney Company and their theme parks, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for all of our updates through the week. Thanks for listening, everyone, and thanks for watching. As always, this is AJ for Disney Food Blog, and we'll see you real soon.